Well, hello and good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for our Building Bridges first ever Exposed Live series. We're so excited about this and happy you are here with us today. My name is Dr. Shy Brown, and I am the president and founder of Building Bridges.
And I'm Tafra Campbell, the vice president here at Building Bridges. We're a nonprofit organization designed to expose, equip, and empower young Black girls to pursue STEM, science, technology, engineering, math through self-awareness strategy.
All right, and we want to tell you the purpose of why we are here today. This series is based off of exposure. With expose being one of our core values of Building Bridges, we created this platform for two reasons. First, to give young Black girls the opportunity to get exposed to STEM career opportunities through STEM professionals, and two, to give STEM professionals who are women of color the opportunity to actually showcase their STEM accomplishments that no one may not even know about. So that's why we're here. That's why we're kicking this off. So as president and vice president of Building Bridges, you'll have the opportunity to actually learn from us and know more about, how did we get to this point as being STEM professionals and why are we so passionate about STEM? So, Teakwa, I want to get started with you first.
Okay.
I want you to tell everyone more about your childhood growing up as a little Black girl in Chicago, and how was your exposure to STEM?
Okay, so South Side of Chicago, born and raised. I actually can't say that I wasn't exposed to STEM at an early age. So I have STEM professionals in my family who I was actually obviously exposed to and had the opportunity to kind of learn what they were doing.
Okay.
Kind of have some interest in that. So one is an engineer, one is a biologist. So for me, it was like, oh, okay, that's different. But I've always loved math. Like math was my thing. So when I was younger, in school, I was kind of like involved in all these like math activities. So there was one in particular that was actually in partnership with the University of Chicago. And so with that, we were teamed up. And so it was a game called 24. You get four numbers. You have to find a way to kind of make 24 out of that. And I remember the guy on the team would always call me Wayne Gretzky. I don't know who Wayne Gretzky is, right? So at that time, I'm like, I wasn't into hockey at all. Okay. But for him to call me Wayne Gretzky, I was thinking I must be somebody important. It must be pretty fun.
Okay.
So we would do that. But we were so good at it that we actually were put off of the team for a while because we were taking over. Like we were always winning. So other students.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, math is it. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Well, actually, I kind of got away from math and got more into science a few years later. So that was probably like fourth grade. So by like seventh grade, I really got into more like science. And at that time, there were like technology was changing. So I had friends that were playing like the Sim game on the computers back then. Right. And so they were doing that. I had no interest in that. I was still more of like hands-on, like chemistry. Like that was more of what I got into. So we were in a split class with eighth graders. High school came in, they're telling us, hey, come to our high school, we offer all these opportunities for your path to college. Okay. In seventh grade, I don't know what I'm going to do, but sound good. So had a school come in. She talked about agriculture engineering. And I'm like, this sounds interesting. She talks about how that food is a part of everything. Everything that we do. So you like to cook, but there's a science behind it. You like to bake, there's a science behind it. I could do that. But I was always going to try to change the world. So I was going to go into engineering.
Which you are doing now.
But I was going to go around the world, right? And like really in that place. So like set up water irrigation systems in places where water, getting clean water is hard to do. Okay. And just really like hardcore agricultural farming. But you would ask me, you from the South Side of Chicago again, how did you even get exposed to farming? Crazy thing is the closest I ever got to a farm was probably going to Mississippi with my family. I'm seeing it, but historically, my family were sharecroppers. So my mother talks about, picking cotton back in the day. And it's like, wow, it's interesting how my connection to agriculture and how hers is totally different. So I think that was my exposure to STEM. And then being around my brother and being his like right-hand assistant, like when he was cleaning, like fixing around the house. So I got into it from one aspect, seeing people, one aspect hearing it like from my mother and like her experience. And then trying to bridge that with even what I was doing with my brother, just kind of like helping him fix the TV around the house. Kind of thing.
So what I'm hearing is you had a chance to participate in some school-wide events. You had someone from college come to your classroom when you were in seventh grade.
Yeah.
A connection with family and hearing your mom talk about things in agriculture. and even having the opportunity to do some tinkering around the house with their oldest brother.
Yep.
Wow, so you got a lot of different
Yeah.
pieces of it.
So I can't say like, oh, I was never exposed to it. But to be honest, back then in the 90s, even telling my age, it wasn't expressed as STEM. It was just like, okay, well, you like math. You're kind of a nerd. It wasn't really the great thing to be at the time, what you could call it. So it's different how we're transitioning now as we talk about STEM in a different way.
Okay. And so how was the aspect of someone coming to your classroom, like in middle school?
So, okay, the thing is that was actually a Black woman that actually came, which was contrast to all the other high schools that came, they were not. So it was very much different. And I think that may have been my moment where I was like, wait a minute, what is she talking about?
Okay.
And to be honest, I probably was the only person. In my 8th grade yearbook, it says I'm going to be an agricultural engineer. In my high school yearbook, it says I'm going to be an agricultural engineer.
Planted early.
So it was planted early.
So
but it probably was because she looked like me, if I can step back to that.
That's what I was going at. It was probably because she looked like you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful, Teaka.
Yeah.
Wow. And what about, like, I know you're from a big city, like what about going to like any museums or something? How was that for you?
Southside Chicago, I was actually in Hyde Park, which is where the Museum of Science and Industry is. So we probably took a trip there 2-3 times a year, which was kind of crazy because I remember in 6th grade, my mother had to help me build an incubator for this chicken egg that it was actually live, and you were supposed to build the incubator, and it was supposed to hatch, but it didn't, which was very hard for, I think, both of us, because actually I was supposed to crack it open and do like the whole dissection. That's when I realized I don't like biology. It's great, but it's not for me.
All right. That would have been fun for me.
I was like, Mom, I don't think we're going to do this. So I actually took it back to school and had another student help me do it. We didn't even do it at home. But what about you? So yes, Southside Chicago, you're from rural area. What was your exposure to STEM like growing up?
Yes, a little bit different. Grew up in Mississippi in a country area. I will say my exposure to STEM for me was mostly in middle school.
Okay.
Participated in science fairs quite a bit. And I think that was the starting point for me. So I can even remember my very first science fair experiment. Check this out. It was, which gum has the longer lasting flavor? That was my very first science fair project. I actually did my very first clinical study when I was like in 5th or 6th grade. I recruited students.
So you do a design of experiment.
I did a whole design of experiment. I recruited my classmates and asked, do you want to be a part of my experiment? Do you want to chew gum? And of course, they wanted to chew gum.
Did you have fruit stripe in there?
I had fruit stripe. I had Big Red. I had juicy fruit. I had double mint. So little 25-cent pack gums.
Of course,
very easy to afford. But I did throw some bubblicious in there.
Right. Okay, long lasting. We got it.
Right.
Right. So you were food science back then.
But I didn't know that was a possibility for me because I didn't have anyone come into my classroom to talk about different careers in science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things, like I did another science fair project the next year. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Oh my goodness. Did you ever figure how many did it take?
That was a little bit harder because my classmates, everyone sucks on lollipops differently.
Exactly.
So that was my era in that.
So just like the commercial, the world may never know.
The world may never know.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So that was that side of it. And I think once I got to high school, it changed a little bit because I'm like, okay, maybe I want to do some dissecting because I like that. So I just didn't have anyone really saying, you know what, this should be, since you like food science or since you like baking, this might be a good area for you. I didn't have anyone tell me that. I mean, my mom, school teacher, so, making sure I get my work done.
Yeah.
But nothing like, oh, you're interested in that? You should go in that direction. We should do more of that little thing. So
yeah. But I think that's food science, right? Like, so in the last 10, 15 years, it's growing, but that's one career path that from a STEM standpoint, most people, especially people of color, actually don't even know exists. But there are so many STEM careers that people don't know. And that's unfortunate, but I think that's why Ways Build Bridges, things like organizations like this bring that exposure to students so that they can see that and have just a different perspective, because right now it's robotics that's moving
That's
big,
the big thing right now.
but everybody doesn't want to do robotics. So what do we give them as alternatives? Everybody doesn't want to
Yes.
be a doctor. What are the alternatives? And I
Yeah.
think that's what is important, especially as I've matriculated through college and through my career, knowing what my base in STEM and how I've been able to expand that in so many different ways.
Yeah, yeah, that's really awesome.
So yeah.
So,
So graduated high school.
yes.
What was your college journey like, and how did you get here? So how did you get past all the food science things into the hardcore STEM that you got into?
Well, my path had some highs and lows. It was curvy. It was weaving to different roads because I really didn't know what aspect of science I wanted to do. Honestly, growing up, I only knew I could probably be three things. I knew I could be a teacher because my mom, she was a school teacher. I knew I could be a nurse. I had some cousins that were nurses and I knew some nurses, and I knew I could be a medical doctor. That's it. So what did I decide to do? I said, okay, well, I guess I'll go try to be a nurse. And I enrolled at Meridian Community College and I got into the nursing program and completely failed the first semester. Very devastating for me because in high school, I was an all A student.
Yeah.
Number 4 in my graduating class and never failed anything, never got an F. But here's my first F actually failing out of a program.
Yeah, I think that's the part that we don't talk about. Like you come again, number 5 at your school. Oh, you're graduating. Oh, you got a scholarship, your ACT,
Yes.
everything is great.
Yes.
Then the reality of, oh, these classes are hard.
That
A is hard to get. That B
is.
is a struggle, and C might be where you land, but no one prepares you to be okay with that.
And you know what? I wasn't okay, but I had to get okay.
Right, real quick.
Because my mindset was, okay, if I gotta leave here, I gotta leave here with a degree.
In something.
So in something, I had to leave with a degree in something. So I just ended up switching a major and just doing university transfer, got my associate's in arts and sciences degree, and boom, I was done. And because I did university transfer, that actually led to me getting a full ride scholarship to Jackson State University.
Shout out to HBCU.
HBCU. So got enrolled at Jackson State University, ended up doing biology pre-med.
Okay.
And didn't end up going to medical school because I was afraid to take the MCAT.
So that initial failure led to the fear of more failure.
Yep, that initial failure. And but I said, you know what? Doctors work long hours anyway. Okay, I can do something else. And that's how this whole research path came along. As an undergraduate student at Jackson State University, started doing computational biology and bioinformatics. It took me throughout Jackson State. It took me to different places for summer internships. Places like Rutgers University, Purdue, U of I, your alma mater. So it gave me opportunities just doing this whole thing of research, not really knowing what it was about, but it gave me more exposure.
Yeah, but you know what's weird about that? That science is failure. All of my experiments don't work the first time.
They don't.
But yet when you fail in those ways, in like out of a class, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing. It's like when I fail, actually, okay, I've learned this ingredient doesn't work, this process doesn't work. I need that failure so that I can actually get to the real solution. So that's kind of interesting how failure, is viewed professionally differently than when you're trying to go through school.
Yes,
So,
yes.
interesting.
But yeah, let me just wrap up really quickly. Tennessee State University graduate, in master's and PhD in biological sciences. I studied how environmental contaminants affect the immune system. And from there, my career path ended up being biochemistry, but I ended up getting a job in a field that I did not go to school for. Which is so important because your skills in STEM can be transferable to another area in another field. So I actually ended up doing research in exercise physiology and exercise science and sports nutrition. Yeah. Which actually turned out to be really, really cool. So happy about that and how that ended up. And now I'm here as a full entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, still sharing STEM, right? Still still sharing that and still exposing. So that experience, right, is what you're able to share with the youth. Yeah.
Okay. So what about you and your college experience and your career path to STEM? What was that like?
So totally different. So I was going to HBCU. I was so excited, got in, got a full ride. Other things happened with the dean and scholarships that I ended up at University of Illinois. So I did agricultural and biological engineering. Again, never been on a farm. So most of the people, all of the people in the class definitely had come from farming. So when I walk in, it's like, what is she doing here? You know, that kind of thing. But I was specializing. So I specialized in food and bioprocess engineering. So my focus was always about, like I said, I was going to save the world. So I was going to get the PhD, right? I was going to do it and find ways to help the world. But after 5 years, yeah, I'm good.
You good?
And I would say I'm good only because that was 5 years of a struggle. And it wasn't a struggle necessarily from the curriculum. I mean, that was hard, so to speak, but you can get past that. But being the only one, like being the only one that looked like me, the only one with my experience and my background was a little rough because on those days where it was like, this is really hard. Only person I had to call was my mother. She don't know. I mean, she was as supportive, obviously, as she could be as a mother. But to be in that experience, it really would have been value add if I'd had someone who had been through it, who had struggled through it to say, hey, you know, this is what it's like. So passed through that, ended up my first, interesting enough, my first job was actually in a lab, which was testing paint, water, and soil for lead. So lead-based paint was huge, you know, obviously using a lot of homes. And in Chicago, in urban Chicago, it's a big deal. So really interesting how me coming from the south side of Chicago, now I'm in a position where I was testing those samples that would actually, you know, like have those houses like abolished or that water, you know, the water testing. So it was interesting. So I guess I was still kind of helping, like my passion, my desire to do that was still there, but my passion was still always to go and process and be an engineer. So left there, took a role, making cereal, making Gatorade, making orange juice, like working across. So I was working at PepsiCo, working across all those different brands and installing those systems and those processes and working on those projects and formulas for new products that were coming out. So it was different, you know, it was different for me. And so I've matriculated, you know, throughout PepsiCo in a lot of different roles, had opportunity to take global roles, you know, and go internationally and see different things. But at the end of the day, it's always been STEM. So even though I've expanded into being project engineers, project managers, you know, engineer, process engineer, and then in product development, it's still just my base has always been about STEM. But my real passion is giving back. So that's really where it lies. So that's my day job. I love it. Great. It pays my bills. What I really like to do is share that love and share that experience, because I think having had myself hands-on STEM was how I really knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like it would have been, it's great for someone to tell me, hey, this is great. Like the woman standing there saying, this is what ag engineering is. But now that I'm in ag engineering, it's different.
It's different. So I picked up on some differences when we talked about our college. You said you was the only one in your classroom that looked like you. Me, on the other hand, I wasn't. I had my peers that looked like me, which was great. How do you think that you being the only one in the classroom prepared you for your career?
I think it completely prepared me because I'm still the only one. I'm still the only one in the room. I'm still the only one at the table. And to be honest, I've just in the last 6 years probably got used to not sitting at the end of the table. I was always kind of like, oh, I'll just stay back here, I'll stay reserved. And then people are like, no, you have input. Okay, maybe. But I think it made me more reserved, which is a little hard, especially in this field. You really can't be reserved. You really do have to be, you got to stand up, you got to, you know, speak, you got to, you got to be assertive. And so I think it prepared me for that, but I think it also may have boxed me in a bit. Because I became used to it that now I'm used to it now. This is what it is. So when I walk into a room, I don't expect to ever see anybody that looks like me, and they don't. So, hey, I'm here to represent all the Black girls who said, yeah, forget engineering, forget STEM, we're gonna do something different. This journey is hard.
Wow. And I will say for me, my transition was tough. It was tough coming from 2 HBCUs. And seeing people that look like me, or just being on a more diverse campus. And
I
then,
would love.
right, and then even just coming to industry and me being the only person that looked like me on my team.
Yeah.
And how to navigate that
Okay.
and work with individuals. It was a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because it's prepared me how to even be leading Building Bridges now, and as I connect with people and other organizations for networking opportunities and things like that.
Yeah. So is that kind of how you got to building bridges?
Well, that's a little bit different. I will say Building Bridges started before I even knew it was Building Bridges. So I was living in Nashville.
Okay.
And I had connected with a young group of girls, Black girls, who had lived down the street from Tennessee State University.
Okay.
They had never been on campus.
Very familiar.
And they lived right down the road.
The same way you and I.
Okay. So I actually connected with them through a colleague at Vanderbilt.
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
Nashville.
So I started meeting these group of young ladies on a weekly basis, and then it got to the point where I stopped going, not because I didn't want to go, but because I had to finish up my dissertation defense and my studies and my research. I was trying to graduate and get a job.
Right.
That was my thing. And so once things had calmed down for me over the summer, I had defended my dissertation. I said, you know what, I need to do something for these group of young girls. Well, I had overheard from my colleague at Vanderbilt saying, the girls miss you and things like that, but I'm concerned about them. I said, why are you concerned about them? I overheard them having a conversation about their hair and their appearance, and it just wasn't really good. The thing about self-awareness and self-confidence was not there for those young girls. And they kind of, questioned their hair and just really not being confident in themselves. So I said, okay, we need to do something about that.
Yep.
So I ended up planning something for them, invited them to the lab where I worked at Tennessee State University, and brought in another colleague at Tennessee State University, another graduate student. And we did what was called a night of science, hair, and self-love.
Oh, like a little spa night.
So they ended up learning the biology behind hair, the science of hair. They made their own hair conditioner and shampoos. And then we wrapped up with self-affirmations, and they went home with little goodie bags with hair combs and brushes and berets and products and stuff like that. It was really, really cute. And that was really the first program of Building Bridges without me even knowing that it would be a program. And even to this day, it's just one of those things. I am so passionate about giving back through Building Bridges because it allows me to give something to a young Black girl, something that I never had growing up, that exposure piece. And it's so important that I want to be able to do that and pass on that STEM outreach experience. And I will say this, my favorite self-quote is, if I can be a stepping stone to get the next student to where they need to go quicker than I did, then I have served my purpose as a mentor.
Yeah.
That's what I go by.
Yeah, I just think it's amazing how self-awareness is so connected to beauty in our communities, especially around hair. It's just very interesting. Even now, my people at work call this my fun hair.
Oh, fun.
This is my fun hair. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah, but then they touch themselves. I was like, oh wait, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, it's very pretty. It's very cute. And it's like, wait, hold on. This is a professional setting. So it makes you question, is my hair professional? And so now what do we have? The crown actor, whatever it is. But it's like, as young as those young ladies are, and for us, and for me to be at this age, it doesn't matter. The struggle around that is still connected very closely to what career you choose, how you're going to manage yourself at work. So it's just very interesting that dynamic around STEM is still very much rooted in just what we personally see ourselves as individuals. So. Exactly.
So what about you, Sadaka? Why are you so passionate about giving back and being a STEM role model as Vice President of Building Bridges?
I think it's because I was 8-year-old Tackle, right? So I actually, again, I was at a diverse school. So I had people who were from Europe, South Asia, all over South America, all over the world kind of thing. So I wasn't ever at that time in the space where it was just individuals that look like me. So I've always kind of had that opportunity. But as I kind of transitioned and became 15-year-old Aqua and then became the nerd, right? Like, oh, you're so nerdy. This was kind of the perception was in high school. And then to become 18-year-old Aqua, which was by herself, the only Black girl sitting at this university, and right when STEM was becoming a thing, but STEM for Black girls was still like, why are you doing that? Like, that's kind of a male dominated, and it still is a male dominated field. And just being able to share the truth, right? To share that story. Like, I could sugarcoat and say, oh no, it's not hard. The science is hard. Like, it's hard. Like, the math is hard. I mean, it gets advanced, it gets crazy. But the experience after that, what it's like to actually be in these corporate settings and these opportunities. And it's days you think about saying things and doing things, at work that you can't do. But if someone had told me like, hey, it's hard, it's going to be this, and I don't want to hear that you got to be 2 or 3 times better. We already know that. But knowing that and knowing that I am that, but I'm still sitting in the room, how do I conduct myself? How do I handle myself? And it's that truth and honesty that I didn't have. So I've learned, and tried to, try all methods of, releasing, right, design quite a bit. But reality is, that's my thing. I want to be able to share that this is great, this is awesome, and this is a great field and opportunity to go into. But real talk, this is what you're up against. But this is why I am a part of Building Bridges, because now maybe I can create a totally different experience. Maybe we can have more Black companies instead of our corporate always being, I'm the only one. No, you're coming to our establishment, our businesses. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, that I've come this far and it wasn't for naught, right? And so because of that, being able to share that, but also being able to create and expand their minds to be entrepreneurs and develop our own things.
That is really, really cool. You said something that made me think about, like, yes, the industry part, yes, the science is hard, working in industry can be hard and challenging and tough, but there's another side of it, and I'm pretty sure you've experienced it too, to where you can actually go in a store and purchase something you've worked on and you know what it's like inside and out.
Absolutely.
I will say the first time I did that, I worked on the GX sweat patch.
Oh yeah.
And the day it came out, I will never forget this, March 2021, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and bought that patch. And looked at it and said, wow, I helped bring this to life. And that's like one of the most amazing things. I know you have like
I do it all day. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I was very early on.
You were very early on. That's very early on.
You're in the background in scientific affairs part. So
yeah. So that's one thing that, as we go and tell young Black girls, or even young Black boys that we come across through Building Bridges, we give them the career opportunities around whatever program we're doing with them. And then we share our experiences if it's something that connects to what we've done, and just be honest and transparent, but also let them know that, here's the opportunity, here's the connection. But no, you have to put in your work.
Oh yeah, it's work.
Yeah.
All the work.
Yeah.
God bless, my tears went into this.
Anything else you would like to share with the people now?
No, just that, thank you for having me be a part of Building Bridges. But most importantly, I'm glad that these platforms exist, that I'm able to share these with adults sometimes, because we talk to kids all day, but it's like, maybe I should talk to the parents and talk to other adults who may not be connected to them, could at least be allies for us and support us in these initiatives. So yeah, it's awesome.
And thank you for being part of Building Bridges. I know I kind of like just pulled
you I've been voluntold. That's how I got here.
I pulled her in because we both work for the same company, and I asked her to volunteer for an event. And later on, I'm like, hey, would you like to actually be on the Building Bridges team? Would you like to be vice president?
And then I'm here.
So thank you for sticking it out with me. Like, this has been a great ride, and I'm looking forward to like whatever comes along with this organization and the growth and expansion.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, actually, that brings us to the end of our first Exposed Live series. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We hope you learn more about who we are as STEM professionals, as the leader of Building Bridges. We hope that you go to our website, learn more about who we are. Know that exposure is good. Exposure is good. So we have on hoodies today, but we actually have opportunity for you to purchase Exposure is Good t-shirts. They're in black and white. So go online and actually support our brand, donate through that. And we also have our Building Bridges hats as well. They're available for purchase as well. And also, if you're watching this and you're a woman of color that is in the STEM field and you're interested in showcasing your STEM accomplishments through our platform, you can actually go to our website and fill out the contact us form and just put in the subject heading Expose Live Series and your interest in wanting to participate. And we'll actually reach out to you, try to schedule some time to do this. Even though we're both in the same area, we will also be doing these virtually. So you can be in the Chicagoland area or you can be in a different state. So that's what makes this platform so easy for us to share and get across the world. Also, let us know if you're watching. Like, go on, put something on your personal social media, tag us at IMBB Inc. and use the hashtag Exposure is Good. That is what we want to get out there. That is the whole purpose of this Exposed Live series. We want you to know that exposure is good. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining, and we will
you.
see you next month in May. Bye.